Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Robert. With me is Brian, and we're going to do some Star Wars talk today. It's kind of a new thing. We just kind of thought about it right after our last podcast that we made. So we're just going to kind of go on a fly here, talk about some news headlines, and then maybe jump into some Ray and Snoke theories at some point. So, starting off real quick, over the past week, actor Josh Gad, who's best known for um, Olaf from the Frozen movie. He's done some other things. He's a comedian. Has been going up to Daisy Ridley. They're in the middle of filming a movie, Orient on the something Express. I don't know. No, it's not Star Wars, so what do I care? But um, he's been doing Facebook Live videos with Daisy Ridley and trying to get information out of her. Now, the first video that was put up, I think Daisy was caught off guard slightly, but she then, towards the end, realized that it was a joke. Then he did another video where he was talking about apologizing to her, but then he pulled Dame Judi Dench, who is also in that movie they're filming, and she started asking her questions. And it was kind of funny because she just had this dumbstruck look on her face, Daisy Ridley, that is. And it was a good video, but the best one came, I want to say it was yesterday. And Brian, I know you watched it, where Josh Gad brings Daisy Ridley to his house and is apologizing. I'm sorry for everything. I promise you won't get any questions from me. And as they're walking, he walks into a door, opens up the door, and there's a large group of celebrities sitting there. Celebrities such as Chris Pratt, Penelope Cruz, I believe that was Bryce Dallas Howard. There's a couple other ones that I didn't know. And then the best one is saved at the end, which is J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
I think it is. It's just hilarious because he just started asking her questions like, who are the last Jedi, or are you a Skywalker, or different things like that. And then J.J. Abrams just ends it, and he goes,
more importantly, is there more than one
"More than one
Jedi
Jedi."
for the last of the Jedi? Is it singular or is it plural?
Well, I believe it was the Spanish version of the title card revealed that it is actually plural. So I think that's been uncovered, that it is plural, the last of the Jedi, which makes sense.
Because Jedi is singular and plural all the same. Like that's a deer and those are deer. So that's a Jedi and they are Jedi.
True. Yes. And I mean, it could be, again, at the beginning of episode 7, in the title, in the crawl, you see that it says, Luke Skywalker, the last Jedi. So we know that it could be used singular as it is there about Luke. And we do know, or rumor has it, that episode 8 picks up right where episode 7 left off. But there could be a time jump. It could start off with, Rey handing Luke the lightsaber, and then we do a little time jump of, maybe a year, maybe 6 months, maybe not at all. Who knows? We won't know until we see the movie, obviously.
I think it would be awesome if she hands him the lightsaber, and it's like a jump to them. Like, she's a young girl, and Luke is like kind of younger. He's not all like scraggle. And he's training her how to be a Jedi. I think that would be awesome. Like it would explain how she was able to pull the lightsaber out of the snow when she was fighting Kylo. I like to say Kylo.
It's Kylo Ren.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kylo too. So I'm just like.
No, definitely. I agree that there's something there with her being, whether it's a Skywalker or there's some connection to that lightsaber. I think I have a video up on my Rey theory that kind of delves into who Rey actually, who I really believe she is, why there is that connection to that lightsaber as well as to Luke, which I think we'll see that connection unveiled in The Last Jedi. Definitely.
Were they treating the lightsaber as a kind of like a touchstone? Do you know what a touchstone is?
Yes, but go ahead and explain for everyone else if you'd like.
Well, basically like a touchstone, I understand it, is you can put your energies into the stone, or your memories, like a psychic, using psychic abilities, and you implant this memory into the stone, kind of like a Horcrux, right? Going with the Harry Potter theme, and maybe somehow this lightsaber became like a touchstone.
It's a possibility.
Much like, it's kind of like how the Kyber crystals are. You get the Kyber crystal, you go to the Jedi temple, and you get trained. But it's through with the Force ghosts, with the Jedi Masters.
The Kyber crystal calls to the Padawan. There's an episode of Clone Wars. I can't remember that episode, but it's a good episode where there's a bunch of Padawans taken to get their Kyber crystal with Ahsoka Tano. It's a really, really good episode, but it's the Kyber crystal actually calls to them. And that makes sense. I mean, it's a possibility that that's what's calling to her. It's not so much the lightsaber. It could be the actual Kyber crystal in that lightsaber. But I really believe that it's more than that. I truly believe that she is a Skywalker in some form.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, if you want, like I said, my theory is there's a video I'll touch on a little bit here, but I go into a lot more depth of everything in that video. But I believe that she is either the reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker or a genetically altered clone of Luke Skywalker.
I'm gonna go with the twin theory.
You're going with
the twin theory that her and Kylo are twins, and she is the daughter of Han Solo and Leia Organa.
Okay, but why was there no mention of that in episode 7?
Because he's building up to it. They're leaving spoilers, or not spoilers, but they're leaving some story for the next movie, right?
Oh, I get that, but
it's kind of a big deal. It's a big build-up, a whole movie. Who is she, right?
But it's more lazy than anything if you think about it, because
I draw this on the fact that Leia and Luke were separated at birth too, right?
Okay, yes.
So that's what makes me think. And in the what do they call that? The theory. It's like the mirror theory or whatever.
The ring theory?
Yeah, the ring theory. And it's basically like the first trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to call that the first trilogy. I know there's a lot of
now we have people yelling at the computer screen.
I'd say it's correctly called the first trilogy because it is 1, 2, and 3. And the second trilogy is 4, 5, 6. Had the second trilogy first, so I understand. So I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to say you're all wrong by calling that the first trilogy, and you can like it.
Most people call it the original trilogy, not the first trilogy.
Well, you know what I mean. That's true. That's very true. But I think they're twins. I think it will be revealed that they're twins. I think Kylo, he knows about her, and maybe that's what angered him. He found out they had a twin, and that's what caused him to go over to the dark side and lose trust in Han. I'm just making this up as we go, but maybe that's what it is. Who knows what caused him to go to the dark side? If he's gone over to the dark side.
And believe it or not, that's like a big question that not a lot of people ask. After episode 7, everybody was, who's Snoke? Who's Rey? Who's Snoke? Who's Rey? Nobody thought, like, well, what happened to Ben? Like, why is Ben Solo or we
He's
don't even know if his
traumatized.
last name is Solo, but we don't know why did Ben become,
Mhm.
or not become, but why did he go to the dark side or start his journey to the dark side? I mean, we don't know that, and hopefully that gets revealed in episode 8, or maybe that gets revealed in episode 9, with episode 8 revealing Rey's parentage. And 8, who knows? We'll see. But it's
But what was
the,
it? Do you remember the line when they were on this latest Death Star, and they're having the fight in the snow, right? And he asks, or I don't remember the lines exactly, and he asks her, "Are you really just a scavenger girl, or whatever it is that he said?" When he had the lightsaber to her neck, and he was basically interrogating her,
I
and
don't
and she
remember.
said yes, but he wasn't able, even if he had the ability to read the mind or manipulate, he wouldn't have been able to do it because she was convinced that she was just a regular person, right? And she doesn't have these memories of the past, if she has them at all, right?
Yeah,
And if she is the twin and she has been trained to be a Jedi, mind wipe, she would honestly not be able to be to remember this. So he, even if he used his force abilities, been able to get it out of her.
I don't know. I mean,
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
obviously
That's what
I'm
I'm
not.
going with.
I'm I'm not with the whole twin thing. I think that's lazy writing. I think it's bad writing. I mean, I can understand Han not saying something to her about being his daughter. I can understand that. That makes sense. What I don't understand is why Leia wouldn't say anything, or why that wouldn't be something that is on screen when they finally meet at the end of the movie.
I have problems
So,
with that whole thing. Like, why were they bonded? Why does she understand somebody that she's close to? If she's just on that desert world and she was dropped there by her parents, why does she know Leia? Why is she hugging Leia?
Um, I don't think that it was that they were bonded. I mean, over that short amount of time there that Rey got to know Han, Han was the first like father figure to her in her life, really, with the exception of Unkar Plot, but he wasn't much of a father figure. And then you have Leia, who is somebody that Han loved, and Leia loved Han, and the rescue mission was there was a rescue mission not to just save Rey, but obviously to save the New Republic by going and destroying Starkiller Base. I think it was more like when Rey came off of the Millennium Falcon and Leia saw Rey and Rey saw Leia, they kind of had a bond through the Force there. Like, okay, we're both distraught over what just happened, although they know who they are, or they don't know who they are. They understand what had to be done and why it was done and why things happened the way they happened. But I think that's kind of what it was more of. Not like, oh, there's this bond between them because they must be
Motherly.
related. I mean, for Leia, it could
Like
be. Leia may know her. That's fine. But even
yeah,
if Leia knows her, I'm okay with that ending because if as long as it's not her daughter, because it's not her place to explain to Rey who she is. That it's for her to find out on her own. That's her own journey. It's not for Leia to say, "Oh, hey, your father, Luke Skywalker, met this old broad, this redheaded woman. Got busy, and then they just left you on a planet." If that's the way that they're going to take it, which I don't think they are.
but
Which I'm
there's
insinuating.
also there's also the I'm sorry to cut you off, but remember when Ben said he was explaining to Anakin Skywalker in Episode 2 that he once was in love with a woman and it didn't work out, and he had to they basically had to cut the relationship short. What if they're the children or the grandchildren of uh, Ben Kenobi?
What you think, Ray?
Or at least
Yeah.
Ray is.
Well, that was the first theory. That is actually when I walked out of the theater after seeing it the first time. Obviously, the people I saw it with were all, "Oh, hey, she has to be a Skywalker." And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, she could be, but I felt that she could have been a Kenobi, and that was pretty much right after I got out of the theater. Um, it's possible that she's a Kenobi. I think that would be the most fun way to take it, especially because Obi-Wan was always one of my favorite characters through the prequel trilogy. So, that would be cool. However, I think, like I said, my theory of her being a reincarnation of a Skywalker, I think a lot more evidence points to something like that than her being the daughter of Luke or the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like that. And again, the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff does fit a little bit because we do know that Obi-Wan Kenobi did fall in love with somebody one time, and that's shown in the Clone Wars cartoon. So it is very possible that, after the Jedi had fallen and the Empire had taken over, that he could have fallen in love again with somebody else, and maybe had a child that nobody knew about. Why would he tell Luke about it or him? This child that he has. There's really no need to. So that's why we don't hear about this child in episode 4, or 5, or 6. Although it does leave it kind of open because, they talk about in episode 6 about Luke and Leia being the last two. That boy's our only hope. No, there is another. They're talking about Leia, and if Obi-Wan did have a child that he at least knew about, why wouldn't that be? Why would they be talking about that child either? So it's a possibility. Maybe he fell in love, had a child, he didn't know about it, something like that. There's many possibilities for that to happen, and I don't think we're going to find out until, I'd say, probably the hour mark, maybe hour and a half mark of The Last Jedi. So we got a ways to go till we learn who Rey's ancestry is.
I think either way they take it, I think a lot of people will be satisfied with it.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I don't
because they're all good theories.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna screw this up. I think that they're gonna to go the right route. I think they know not to make her Luke's daughter because I think that's where everybody's gonna get mad because it's so blatant. They made it very obvious that that's what they wanted people to believe in episode 7, and if that's what they want people to believe, and then that's what it is, I think that's where people will get upset.
I have an even darker theory. We've discussed this in the past. I don't know if your viewers come across it because you don't see it very much, or you don't see it at all. My own theory, and I think it would be fitting since you consider what pharaohs did, and like the Roman families, and even today with ruling families. So my other theory, I have a lot of theories. But my theory here is that they're the children. Kylo and Rey are the children of Luke and Leia. And you see, Kylo found out that Han Solo really wasn't his father, and that's why he went to the dark side.
Yeah, they're not going that route.
No, I know they're not. That they're on Endor, and Luke explains, "Oh, he's my father," right? Talking about Darth Vader, and he's talking about another, and immediately Leia understands that that Darth Vader is her father as well, and he goes, "I have a sister," right? So it's in my mind. I like to take it to a dark place here, and I like to think that she wasn't weeping because Darth Vader was the father, but she was weeping because she was pregnant with Luke's children, and they're
Well,
really the children of Luke and Leia, the twins.
unfortunately, that can be thrown out because the novels that have been coming out over the past couple years that take place between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens pretty much gets rid of that idea completely. So, yeah, I wouldn't.
It's one of the more zanier theories, but I like to entertain it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
No.
they're basically like royalty of the galaxy in the Star Wars universe. So that's why I look at it. And Lucas, he relied heavily on ancient lore and myth, and basically the older tales, kind of like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, and Iliad. And going with Jonah being swallowed by the whale when they're on the asteroid, the big worm and everything, and it's the hero's journey, right? And they're in the belly of the beast, and then they come out at the other end, right? So that goes into the ring theory. That's what the ring.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I gotcha. Okay, well, enough about the Ray theories right now. Again, like I said, I have a theory. It's up on my channel. Just look for Ray theory. You'll find it. I think I like it. It's pretty interesting. Okay, next thing. Another um, issue that fans were really up in arms about after episode 3. What happened to Jar Jar Binks? Like, what happened to him? At the end of episode 3, all we know is he was the one that pushed forward for a new galactic empire to be started. He gave all the power to the Emperor. So, what happens to him after Revenge of the Sith? And we now know. We finally know what happened to Jar Jar Binks. Thank God. Um, in Chuck Wendig's upcoming novel, Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End, it is explained that Jar Jar Binks, after the events of Episode 3, eventually started living as a clown in a town square of Naboo. Jar Jar explains that he was banished from, Gungan City long ago. He also states that those on Naboo believe that he helped the Empire. So we finally know he is now become a clown in
the square. That. I like him being like the ultimate Sith Lord. That's the best theory ever, because you could see he knew Lucas was going for it.
I know he wasn't. He wasn't going for that.
He was definitely going for it, and he chickened out because he knew everybody.
No, because he talks about when he made episode 1 that he wanted a zany character, somebody clumsy that kids could grab onto and enjoy. And then all the backlash that he got after episode 1, he then in episode 2 brought it back, and Jar Jar was in episode 2 very minimally, and you can definitely see that in episode 2, because you then see C-3PO and R2-D2 get all of the humor that was in that movie. That was, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Star Wars Episode 2, but some of those scenes with R2 and C-3PO were cringeworthy. Like whole, the whole thing within the droid factory. Oh man, I can't stand
that. I hate that. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, the whole droid factory thing with C-3PO could have been trashed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
they're merchandising, so
yeah. Okay, but I mean, that's Jar Jar Binks' fate. I mean, at least we know what happened. He's not a Sith Lord. He's not the ultimate Sith Lord. So
I want him to be the ultimate Sith Lord, just because it was just like I hated Jar Jar, right? And I think everybody did, unless you got like a sense of humor, like a really really good sense of humor. Like, oh yeah, that's a good character. But I hated him. It took away from what could have been a very serious movie. And then I ran into that Jar Jar theory where he was a Sith Lord and he manipulated the whole thing like he caused them to go to that planet. With the ship with the problems with the engine, and then he manipulated what's his face at the scrapyard, the flying
Watto?
dude, whatever. I hate that guy too. But like the whole thing, you see it everywhere, and then he even manipulates his pod racer. Like the whole thing, the whole pod race, everything. He even manipulated Padme into saying certain things. You can see it. You can see him mouthing it. You can
No,
see
you
talking.
didn't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. He's a CGI character, and he was made to do things by design.
Okay.
Then he's walking around all sneaky.
I'll get off that.
On was it episode 2? And he's up in the towers, and they're coming up the elevator, and he even goes to meet them at the elevator, and he acts surprised that they're there. And then he's sitting there trying to listen in on their meetings. Lucas,
All right,
has some stuff in mind for Jar Jar, but he never made it come to fruition, or whatever you want to call it. Never made a reality.
You can hold out hope that'll come to fruition at some point.
It's not. I know it's not, but you can see it. And there was the tweets from I think one of the screenwriters, or it was somebody involved with the development of the 1, 2, and 3, and he said finally, 20 years later, the true story has been recognized, or something like that, along those lines. So there's a lot behind it. If you like to read into things, then Jar Jar as a Sith Lord is like the ultimate read into, as far as Star Wars goes.
All right,
I like it.
So,
It's fun.
So I'm going to jump on to something here. Jump to something else here. Now, Brian and I grew up in the 90s, born in the mid 80s. We grew up in the 90s, and right when we were in our late childhood, 8, 9, 10 years old, the big re-release of Star Wars came out in the mid 90s. Now, I know both of us have some fond memories because we were friends back then. We went out and we played with our Star Wars toys on a daily basis almost. But this week, Hasbro actually is celebrating 40 years of Star Wars toys at Toy Fair 2017. So, I mean, I just want to talk about some Star Wars toys that I remember having as a kid. And, one of my biggest things that I was jealous of Brian having was the snow speeder. I remember him getting that, and dude, you have no idea how jealous I was of you for having that, because that was like what I wanted. I had the Millennium Falcon I had, but I think you had a snow speeder and an AT-AT, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
AT-AT.
And that even pissed me off.
Like that was the moment. It was like the creme de la creme of toys. Like, yes, I got the walker.
Oh man, you have no idea. I was so jealous of the some of the toys you had, though. Do you have any? What was your favorite toy that you had?
I'll tell you what. The one toy that I was jealous of that you had was what was the one that folded? And he was an extended universe character.
Dash Rendar's Outrider.
Dash Rendar's Outrider.
I love that thing.
Favorite. That thing was awesome. And I just had a lot of fun playing with that toy. Another one was the exploding speeder.
Oh yeah, the speeder bike the button on the back, it just popped.
Yeah. Like that guy was dying every 2 minutes in that one.
Oh man! And then they had some of those really weird toys. With the ones like you could get Boba Fett with this like giant ass like rocket pack on his back. It made no
Yeah,
sense.
it was like this. It was like the super Star Wars
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
and there was like the stormtroopers. They had like jetpacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. Did they? I remember there was like some kind of spring action, something. Maybe did they pop open like the jetpack?
Yeah. It like popped
spread?
out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that was. They were just like, "Hey, man, they're buying toys."
I want to say it was a Christmas of '96, maybe '97. But it was somewhere around there. It was one of the best Christmases I ever had because I went to my grandparents' house on Christmas Eve, and we did our presents on Christmas Eve over there. And I get there, and it's just Star Wars toy after Star Wars toy after Star Wars toy. I got my first X-Wing. I got action figures galore. I had, I think, like 2 or 3 stormtroopers. It was just amazing. Then the next morning, I was opening my gifts from Santa, and I got another X-Wing. I got a TIE fighter. I got more stormtroopers. It was just the greatest Christmas ever. And,
you had Darth Vader's TIE fighter.
I did, yeah.
And I was the one that had the regular TIE fighter, remember?
Yeah, okay, yeah. But that Christmas, man, like it was, it's probably one of my fondest memories. I have one other memory that for a gift that I got in my life that made such an impact, and that was when I got my Nintendo 64 in 1997 on my birthday. That was just, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe my family and my, everybody got that for me. But that Christmas
was on there.
Oh yeah, well that didn't come out for a couple years after I got it, but it wasn't dark. It was Shadows of the Empire.
Oh yeah, Shadows of the Empire. That's what
that game was phenomenal. But I mean, when it comes to the toys, Hasbro, I mean when I think of my childhood, I think of 3 phases in my life, and I think of Hot Wheels, Star Wars, Hasbro, Power of the Force toys, and then my video gaming phase of life. Like that's really, when I look at my childhood, that's where it is. And Star Wars toys were such a big part of it. And I can't believe it. Hasbro has been a part of it for 40 years, which is crazy. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Hasbro, it was Kenner that did the Power of the Force toys. But I mean, Hasbro has been within that spectrum for 40 years, so that's pretty crazy.
That is a long, long time.
It really is. And then like a
time ago in a toy store far, far away.
Oh man. I know that we talked about Rey theories. Real quick, I just want to get your opinion on who do you think Snoke is, if he's somebody that we all have already known, or is he just Snoke?
I think I don't think it's going to be any of that. I think he's just going to be some guy that wasn't in the story before. I know I originally thought, it was Vader. And, I rationalized, like, oh, well, he was, we saw his suit being cremated, but we never saw him being cremated, right? And Luke said that I'll do anything I can to help you, Father, right? He was dying on the Death Star before it blew up. So that's what made me think, maybe it's Vader. But then the way things are looking, the way things are adding up, I don't think it's going to be Vader.
Well, real quick,
because for the one reason that it isn't is because his Force Ghost showed up, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be him. And then there's the idea that Snoke is the Force Ghost, but it was a projector, and there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, you have I've heard the Vader theory. I've heard the Plagueis theory, that Plagueis, who was Palpatine's master. I've heard that it's Master Sifo Dyas, who created who put the order in to create the clone army. I've heard that it is actually Emperor Palpatine. There's a lot of different theories. Then there's theories now that It's Krennic from Rogue One, which I think is just stupid and ridiculous that they would even think that that's a possibility.
I don't think he was a Force user at all.
No, well, we don't know if Snoke's a Force user. That's another thing. We don't know if he's Sith at all.
Well, he's training Kylo, right?
But why would he have to have that? He could have the knowledge of the Force. He wouldn't have to actually practice using the Force.
Well, he said, "Bring him to me to complete his training."
Okay. I don't play hockey, but I could teach my son how to play hockey. Like I know how to play hockey, I'm saying, but I understand the game, but I'm not a professional hockey player. I'm not in the NHL, but I can still teach my son how to play and eventually become a good hockey player.
I think that's being overthought.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that he's somebody new. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think my favorite theory, if it was to be pulled from one of the theories, is that he is Old Master Sifo Dyas. I think that's cool because we never saw him before. He was just mentioned by name in episode 2. So, I think that would be kind of cool to bring something from the prequel back or forward, or however you want to put it. Bring that to the forefront. I think would be kind of neat. I don't know. Snoke, like I said, I really believe he's just a new character. He may be introduced in one of the novels coming up, I would think. I think he would have to be because Leia mentions him by name. So Leia knows who Snoke is. Han knows who Snoke is. They know that he has manipulated, or they know that he has manipulated their son. So they know of him. They know who he is. So they had to have come in contact with him or something at some point prior to episode 7. And a lot of the novels that are coming out take place prior to that. So I'm guessing he's going to show up at some point, whether it's in a novel that comes out after it's revealed who he is or right before episode 8 comes out. I can see that happening.
I would like to find out how Ben, or Kylo, as he is now, how did he meet Snoke?
See, that's why, and that's why I think it's going to have to be somebody that was trusted, who is known to Leia and Han.
Well, isn't this new trilogy supposed to be a sort of a reboot?
No, I mean, people call the episode 7 like a soft reboot because it's so similar to episode 4. Kind of think of
so what if he really was Vader though, and they're just saying that whatever happened in episode 6 just didn't happen. We're just rewriting that. I don't know what
Well, that's kind of ruined by Kylo looking at the burned remains of Vader's mask.
But you don't see the skeleton in it. You're just seeing a mask, right?
True. You also have to, there's rumors, again, potential spoilers here. So rumors, if you don't want to hear this, cover up your ears until I don't know, whatever, just rumor. Here is that Hayden Christensen is actually going to return as Anakin Skywalker in episode 8. So there is that rumor.
As a Force character.
It's a possibility that he'll be a Force ghost, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it was, I guess something happened. I'll say a year ago, maybe more, maybe less. There was a news story that broke that Hayden Christensen was actually working out. It looked like he was working out to do a role, and there was no signs of him signing on to any kind of picture or anything like that. And people then started speculating that it was for Star Wars. Now, why would he need to work out and get fit and get into shape for being a Force ghost? So then people started thinking, oh, he's going to be in Rogue One. And then obviously we did see Vader in Rogue One, but it wasn't Hayden Christensen who we saw. So it's interesting. This rumor. I wouldn't mind seeing him as a Force ghost.
What if he's going to be like some kind of crazy flashback to when
I'm okay with that. There's
he's like a young Padawan learner, or I don't know, at some point before he was Vader, and maybe Snoke comes into contact with him somehow, and there's like some reason to have a flashback to this point where he's training.
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, there was supposed to be a flashback in Episode 7. The flashback was actually going to have Rey actually see the battle on Bespin between Luke and Vader, and she was going to see it from a distance. That was supposed to be in Episode 7, so they're not against the idea of possibly doing some kind of flashback. So it's a possibility that happens. I don't mind seeing Hayden Christensen. I like Hayden Christensen. I don't think he was a bad choice for playing Anakin. I just think the way that the dialogue didn't fit him. I don't think he had chemistry with Natalie Portman. There's a couple things that I didn't like, but I don't think it's his fault. He did the character as George Lucas wanted him to do the character. So that's the way I look at it.
I like the idea that the reason why he didn't have the chemistry was because he was manipulating her with the Force to make her fall in love with him.
It's a possibility. That'd be a cool little side story to find out at some point.
And that's why it was glaringly obvious to everybody else that they really weren't in love, and it was just some sort of manipulation.
Yeah, that's a cool theory.
I like to entertain that idea. Because he said that, well, they were eating dinner right at the table, and he force lifts the piece of fruit, right, and he says that Obi-Wan wouldn't approve of this, or the council wouldn't approve of this, right? So he was clearly abusing his powers, and they were forbidden to have relations. Even the Senate forbid relationships between Jedis because they know that Jedis can manipulate the senators to do their bidding, which I think they were doing anyway. I think there's a darker side to the Jedis than we're being led on to.
You and your damn theories.
I love my theories. I have a lot of theories.
Well, here's what we'll do. We're definitely going to plan on doing some commentary for all the Star Wars films that are out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as well as Rogue One. And maybe if you're lucky, maybe we'll get a chance to watch a holiday special and do some commentary with that. But we do have some plans in doing that. We were talking about wanting to do that. We've actually, about a year ago, we talked about wanting to do Episode 7 because Mr. Brian here has a whole bunch of issues with Episode 7.
I got a lot of issues with that. The whole thing,
but
everything.
We'll get into that more later.
All right.
Here's the thing.
I was about to launch on a rant, and
yeah, we're not getting into the rant tonight.
You saved this for my rant.
But this is something new that we wanted to do. We don't know how often we're going to do it. We'll try to do it on a regular basis, maybe a couple times a month. We'll get something new about Star Wars out there. Definitely, we're not going to be here for breaking news or cutting edge news stories. As things come out, we'll talk about it. If there's something that you want to hear about, let us know. You can reach me on Twitter at @rslavinsky, or you can just leave it down in the comment section of YouTube here. Brian there, you can reach him on Twitter, I'm sure. What's your Twitter handle?
At Brian with an I _ Keppel, KEPPLE.
And definitely let us know if you enjoy it. Look, if you don't like it, that's cool. You don't need to watch it, but this is something for us. We really enjoy Star Wars. We enjoy talking about it, and we're gonna go from there. So, thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Stay tuned.